Okay, quiet on set, please, everybody. Thank you. All right. Okay, ready?
Yep.
What's good, everybody, and welcome to the brand review. Today, we are sat around a couch, as we've been doing quite regular recently, and we have a very special guest with us today. We have Sven Rieckmann, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, from Peter-Schmidt-Group. We've been talking about doing this for a while. He invited us onto Future Playgrounds where we stood on stage and did we make a fool of ourselves? I don't know. We talked a lot about brand and got up there and did some stuff, and as a thank you and as a welcome back, and also because of a lot of insider knowledge that he has, we just had to get him on the channel so we could pick his brains all about himself and also about a big project that he was involved in as well. So, my name's Paul. This is...
Hi, I'm Jan.
And I'd like to welcome...
Hi, I'm Sven. Yeah, thanks for the invitation, guys.
Yeah,
it's really pleasure.
It's great
really
to have
cool
you
to
here.
Be
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it, and finally here I am. Rieckmann. It's
Riek.
yeah,
With a
it's not easy.
with a
You can say Reikman. It's fun. It's great.
All right, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to ask you a couple of questions about yourself, and then
Sure.
also going to look at the branding from Peter-Schmidt as well, because there was quite a big rebranding kind of recently,
Yeah,
I would say.
this year.
This
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit about your good self,
Yeah,
who you
absolutely.
are, and like how you got to where you are at the moment?
Absolutely, I can. So, I mean, shortly, Sven, for sure, you introduced me, but yeah, I'm actually ECD at Peter-Schmidt-Group. I started there as a junior designer, so around about 17 years ago, 16, 17 years ago, I'm already within that company. Studied in Dortmund, so in Germany, and then moved to Hamburg and started at Eiger Design. Maybe you also know them.
We've heard of Eiger.
As an intern.
Big up
so
to Eiger.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And yeah, now leading from a creative point of view the consumer branding at Peter-Schmidt-Group, which is also kind of cool because we have a diverse team, interdisciplinary team, which is super cool. So 3 creative teams, a strategy team, project managers. So that's my role actually there, which is great. Next to that, as you mentioned, also organizing festivals like the Future Playground or creative workshops. I also have been a coach and teacher at universities, which was also kind of cool. And since last year, I'm also a member of the ADC. I heard recently also some other guys are now part of the ADC.
Maybe.
Which is a great club. Shout out
Big
to
up
the
to
Art Directors Club.
Right.
And yeah, also this year had the opportunity to be in the jury, which was really, really cool and really fun. And yeah, stepping into this bubble of creativity besides the agency, I think is also great and a cool opportunity. Besides that, I'm living on the countryside, so I moved there some years ago.
Nice.
And regenerated with my wife an old farmhouse, which is also kind of cool. Every day is holiday there, and it's cool. I'm also. I shred the guitar.
I was going to say, and a passionate rocker as well.
Absolutely.
Or punk rocker, I don't know.
Punk rock, metal, all these kind of things. But I also trying to push my boundaries over there. So I have my personal project, which is called Riff of My Week.
Okay, we'll leave the links below so you can check out what he's doing.
Well, yeah, you can. Well, this is like kind of my safety zone. I'm also on Spotify, which is cool. But
right.
I try to push my boundaries in terms of genres because I've been playing so many rock, punk, metal things, and then I stepped into some other stuff. And my idea was every week I do a vinyl cover, design-wise, and also trying to come up with a song in that specific genre I've got no clue about. So, for example, I did an anime intro. Listened like 2 weeks, just Japanese stuff, and then I came up with my version as an example. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, I've checked some of the stuff out, so I highly recommend you go have a look. There's some really interesting stuff. Also, your Instagram as well. You've got some really experimental stuff on there as well. Also, really interesting to look at. Should we jump into PSG? Can we call it PSG?
Before we start with PSG, I just want to dig a little deeper because. I mean, also we have a lot of younger generation watching our channel.
This is true.
So, because we already started with you starting at Peter-Schmidt, which is impressive that you worked there for such a long time. Anyway, but how did you actually get into the creative industry in the first place? And also, is there like a moment in your life that sparked like your interest for this, just becoming a creative person and a designer?
You always need this diverse setup, like with the bigger agencies and also small ones. It can't be just fruitful for the whole design community scene, because in the smaller studios, I have the feeling you can easily, being agile, adapt through trends. One, maybe it's hard for them to do like bigger pitches, concept thingies, or rollouts and this kind of stuff. So I think it's cool always to have a chat also with them. Think about or talk about their challenges, their design habits. So in general, I think, bring all the community together is always a good idea. I mean, to study, my mom was like my mentor, kind of, because she said, hey, look at this. There is a talk at our school at some point and talking about product design. I had got no clue about product design, and there was like a professor from Essen-Folkwang, I guess, at that point of time, and he was like, here's a coffee machine, you can design coffee machines. Here is, I don't know what it was, a table, you can design tables. I was like, okay, he's talking about design, you can really design those things. And I was super interested in that. And also a neighbor studied graphic design in Dortmund, and he showed me how to do that and what he's actually doing. And then I stepped into it, and I was like, okay, I like to draw, I like to be creative. As a musician, also drawing, doing things, crafting things. And then I stepped into it. I mean, I did like, what was it called? Some drawings and this kind of stuff, and stepped into a test at the university. I was picked, landed in that. That's it.
Nice. But it's nice to hear that your mum was your hero.
Yeah.
Pushed you in that direction.
Yeah.
You hear that from a lot of people in our industry who've moved their way through. Their mum is often an inspiration. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, all right. So next, so you work at Peter-Schmidt, PSG Group. I mean, there are not many famous like designers from Germany, I would say, but Peter-Schmidt definitely is one of them, and he is like, that's where the name of the agency is coming from. Can you give us like a little brief history about the agency in general? I mean, it's also quite old, right? It also exists
It's
for
over 50 years old.
50 years. I mean,
So it's
1972.
1972, it is,
Fun
exactly.
fact.
And the story is a bit like this. So Peter was part of another agency, and he had the idea to do his own studio. So at that point of time, it was Peter-Schmidt Studios. And then he met also quite a famous boutique design studio at that point of time, Jill Sander. And she asked him to come up with a logo. And at that point of time, I mean, it's over 50 years ago. In the 1970s, Jill Sander was like super radical with that logo. He invented at that point of time, so no one had that at these days. I think that's kind of cool when you look back and see this logo was created at that point of time and still exists. I think that was super cool. And besides the logo, he did everything. So the campaign, the perfume bottles, the whole design system. And then it stepped into other brands, other stuff came, everything in this kind of luxury fashion lifestyle direction, Joop, Hugo Boss, all this kind of stuff. And he became famous, and he was like the one who brought kind of lifestyle branding into Germany. I think this is like
Mirko Borsche today.
Yeah.
Good comparison. I suppose so.
Yeah. But I mean, it's over 50 years ago, and of course that's amazing to see that kind of legacy when that thing was created. Yeah.
That brings me on to my next question. Actually, 1972, long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was Peter-Schmidt then.
Yeah.
I've noticed, like, even when I've spoken to you and the guys at Peter-Schmidt, you do refer to it as PSG. I wonder if that is like a shift to move away, or has it always been referred to as that? But my question would really be like, how has the agency changed? I mean, obviously it's changed a lot over the last 50 years, but predominantly today, how is it kind of shaping into like its new direction, new wave? What's the kind of outlook for the studio?
I mean, predominantly the tools have changed. And I think there's also kind of a funny story when nowadays people ask you, like in press, for example, hey, can you send us over the Gel Sander logo? Because we recently talked about it, and we can't. We can't do it.
It's not archived somewhere. There's no...
Exactly. I mean, it's not digitalized.
Right,
It was
okay.
hand-drawn at that point of time.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the cool story and funny story at that days. Hey guys, no computers exist, so we don't have the logo, so we can't send it. Of course we can, but I mean it's tricky to do that because 50 years archive you don't have on all these PCs. So therefore, I would say mainly driven tools have changed. So we adapted. So nowadays everyone is talking about AI and this kind of stuff. I think with AI you have a great tool, a new tool. Where you can do great stuff with and experiment, do crazy stuff you've never done or you couldn't do before. Not quite sure if it's already involved into like classical branding stuff, but I think it definitely will get to. And I would like to see more cool stuff with it and play with it. But I think we have these roots in craftsmanship. So back in the days, but also nowadays. So the tools shifted, but still we're keeping value. So every time all the time we're trying to be curious. Looking for new things, try to empower us ourselves to look for new things. And also this value Peter brought in of perfection. So I think maybe the tools have shifted, but I think the values and how we approach things never changed. So I mean, I can talk just about 17 years, but I still feel that. And I think the cool thing is also Peter here in a while is also coming to us and visiting us. So I think he also still feels that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So because he's not really part of the company anymore, but he's coming by from time to time. Because I asked
Name's
ourselves,
still on the door,
yeah,
right? So, I mean,
know, how would it be if there's like a Paul Watmo
keeps knocking on the
studio,
door.
but it's not you're not part of it. So, but you decided to keep the name, and it's again because everything that the name is connected with, you still stand for this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we kept this name because still the values are in us. This drive for perfection, this drive for curiosity, I think is still there. And I think that's exactly what you said. I mean, for him, it's also important. So on some events, we see him, or here in a while, he comes by, and he still sees that. So I think, we still can use also his name, and he still is okay with that. So, therefore we kept the name.
Yeah. Nice. One thing, because 50 years, then, and you said there were no computers back in the days, so there must be like a real physical archive, right? Mm-hmm. How is that looking? Is it like a secret place, or you go there from time to time?
And the walls open.
So guys, I can now do another invitation for you guys, because I'm not quite sure if you've seen in our agency like this little B-sides room where we do here in a while some exhibitions from our members. And lately, our CCO came over, and I prepared a room with best of PSG stuff, and I've been in the archive.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, it's not like this romantic room you could expect.
I have visions in my head right now.
Yeah. No. But you definitely have to find some stuff. You need to spend some time in these archives to find really good stuff, but you still find some stuff. So I, for example, found like these little old deers. It's amazing. I found so many perfume bottle thingies, and back in the days how they did the photos, they still exist.
Wow.
So it's still over there, and I did like my kind of personal view of the best of Peter-Schmidt-Group and all the products and books and perfume bottles and so on. So now actually it's in the room in the moment.
You must have all like the contact sheets as well, and negatives and stuff from probably photo shoots and all the original prints. And
exactly. We still have some of those. So not everything is in there, because we also moved and also the archive changed. So I think you can't find everything there, especially at some here in a while you throw stuff away, because especially food gets old, and all the perfume bottles, I mean, they smell at some point. But it's super funny because it's not only externals who have got no clue at some point what we did. It's also like the juniors or new people coming into the agency At some point they know the recent stuff, but they also have got no clue what the legacy is of the agency. And I found many books like, you go in there, you find so many products. We did it, so it's cool.
Amazing. It must be so cool to have that heritage behind you to discover. So that's the old. Let's talk about the new. So there must have been some, obviously, redirection, initiation, forward-thinking, future vision for PSG, for Peter-Schmidt. Could you tell us a little bit about like the initiative, why that happened, and kind of what came out of that design process?
The design process.
Because we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And every time you smile, so I'm super interested to dive a little bit into that.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it was, a lot of people already tried that within the agency to do something new. And you need to think back also, okay, this logo exists now over 20 years or even longer. So of course there's also kind of a heritage behind. So I was thinking, okay, can I touch this logo? That's a good question. I mean, at that point of time, I had really luck to find a job because it was 2008, where also a crisis happened. Follow your heart, follow your passion. I think it happened really good to me. So therefore, I think everything is good how it is, actually.
This is the elephant,
the elephant,
right? Yeah.
Exactly, the white elephant. There's also a story behind, but doesn't matter. It's like, okay, you see that logo and you think about, does it still reflect your values, your identity, or the modern days and so on? And I personally, everything started a bit differently, not with the logo. Everything started with a request of, hey, we need a new PowerPoint master.
Okay.
It's looking a bit old and boring and lame. And I talked to a designer, you know him, Simon, shout out to Simon. He was like, okay, let's give it a try. We do a new PowerPoint master. And that got into kind of not quite sure if the correct word, a submarine kind of. So it went through the agency without officially sign off from anyone, from the chiefs and so on. But everyone liked it. And they were like, okay, can we do a project out of it? And then I said to Simon, maybe we can also touch the logo. Looked back into the history and said, okay, we want to bring in back this roots of craftsmanship. Because when you look at the existing or the elephant before, it looked flat. It looked a bit like I wouldn't say baby, but it looked a bit childish. So with that, okay, we have to bring in something which we feel, where we think about, okay, all this heritage, all this craftsmanship, let's bring that back.
But I think you need to tell us a little bit. I know you kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
Because I'm like burning to know now. Why the elephant?
Why the elephant?
Yeah, I know you said we don't need to talk about it, but I'm sure people at home will be like, tell me.
Not a big story.
Even if
behind.
it's just quick.
It's
one,
not a big
just give us
story
some
behind.
context.
No. I mean, Peter at that point of time was asked by a client to come up with a tea brand and a design for it. So this elephant is coming from a tea tin because that brand was now launched. So it was a present back to Peter and saying, maybe it brings luck to you. And he picked that. That's the story.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But a white elephant for sure, he has different meanings from India and so
Yeah.
stands for luck and positivity and so on. So which is great. But yeah, that's the story. So we found also that tea tin. And we're inspired by that. So going back into our history and said, okay, maybe we can pick that and grow something out of that as an inspiration. Yeah.
But with the brand, so we got to so the initiation for this was it was a PowerPoint, and then you just started to dive in. But like from the brand I've seen, it's very rich. You know, I mean, you have this new blue, I would say, even if it's like you've tweaked it. I think you had a lot of yellow before. Is that right? Was there yellow? Okay. All right, but the blue, there's predominantly blue and also a lot of motion as well.
Motion. Yeah.
New typeface.
New typeface as
well.
well.
Oh, yeah, so I have a new typeface. Yeah, I mean, everything comes also by kind of our values. And I mean, the craftsmanship, you see that in the elephant for sure, like I told you. I mean, this is what we wanted to reflect, but also like the innovation part of it. So everything is now driven also by AI, or everyone is talking about it, or everything is now in motion. So of course we want to bring that also in, which, where you can also see our side of innovation when you see these visuals in comparison to the craftsmanship. I think this is definitely what we want to do. The blue.
Why the blue? Please
yeah,
explain. The blue. Because there's many colors to choose from, right?
I mean,
So-
when you, of course, you do your homework,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
you
yeah.
see like other agencies, what kind of colors do they have, and also on your network, and you see a lot of red, here and there, a bit yellow, maybe a bit blue. But we said, okay, blue fits to us, so we picked blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're from Hamburg, maybe you can see the connection to something which is in the nature around you, but I think that was not the main driver. But we felt good with it, but there's not a special meaning behind.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Sometimes it's nice just for the sake of being nice.
exactly.
Maybe.
But I think when you think, okay, one thing is craft, the other thing is like curiosity. It's definitely this curiosity, like I told you, always experiment, push your boundaries, and therefore it reflected now in these like, mainly motion, techie visuals as a comparison. And you mentioned also the type. We have our third value, which is character. Of course, character is also reflected by our name, I think, because it's a bit unusual, especially in the international competitive field, also for clients. But I think this reflects the character and also in the type. We did this on our own. So we have a guy who's doing the type, and I think that also fits like
It's a custom typeface.
it's a custom type.
Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
nice.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to produce a custom type?
I
It's a laborious,
I know
long process.
You
right?
have to ask him how long he needs. So shout out to Sven. So he's really good, and we also sell this to clients. So we're doing custom types and display fonts and all that kind of stuff. So he's really good. But I'm not quite sure. I mean, I have to ask him how long he needs for that. Yeah. But in general, when you ask about the process, how long does it need to change your own brand, especially when you have that kind of history and that legacy and so many people in our agency? That's funny, because it's not easy.
And actually, who predominantly has to sign something like that off?
Well, in that specific part, for sure, Lucas.
Yeah.
Or CEO,
Yeah.
definitely. But also in that specific project, our creative board was involved, so 3 to 4 people, or 3 people. But in general, over 50 people, I think, have been involved in the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because you first of all start with a PowerPoint, and then you go into the logo, and a lot of people want to do and create the new elephant for the next decades. For sure, it's cool to do that. But also, on the other hand, it's not easy to do your own branding. And I also heard at some point, don't ever do that. Don't do your branding on your own. But we we did that challenge, and I think the output was great, but it was also a long way to do that. It took us a while, and still it's ongoing. We're not finished for sure. Want to explore further things, want to bring it on a portal that everyone has access. And it's not only the process with visual stuff. We also did sonic branding with a studio in Berlin, Troh, which is also kind of cool. So we have now also our own sonic branding, our own sound, which is also nice and cool. But yeah, it's a process.
Nice. But I mean, I suppose I can imagine there were many iterations of the elephant. At least there's something for the archives for the future generations, right? To dig through.
Absolutely.
Okay, I guess we heard that also quite often, that like doing, especially for creative agencies or studios, the hardest part is to do your own branding. And you mentioned already it was difficult, took long. But how did you do it? I mean, did you said, okay, here's a designated team? Did you say, okay, this is like a separate job we do, or how did you do it?
Good question. Yeah, kind of. I mean, of course, you do it next to your normal work, but it was not a dedicated team doing that all the time. Because the process was, I have no clue, over half a year or even longer. So here in a while, of course, we had some creative people working a bit constantly on it, but it shifted through teams and through team members, I would say. Yeah. So a lot of iterational steps and
a fluid process.
Yeah, a fluid process.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was the feedback? Also from clients and?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you get the feedback internally. You get, of course, different opinions on it. But due to the fact that so many people were also involved, everyone knew that also before. So when we did the launch internally, everyone was like, yep, I've already seen this because I was part of it. But yeah, I think everyone is happy with it because we also did like not just only one elephant, we also did like elephants for every location we have. So for Lisbon, Tokyo, Frankfurt, Munich. So we have a little individuality also in there, which is kind of cool. I really like, and I think clients are also happy about it, or at some point, I'm not quite sure about the existing ones, even if they noticed it at some point, but especially new ones, because they, of course, look at your website and check it out, and at some point, it's also like, yeah, and we will invite you for that pitch because we have seen your website and it's looking cool.
Oh, nice.
And modern.
Cool.
So therefore, I think it's definitely a win. Yeah.
Nice. We talked about the past. We talked about the present. So there's only one thing left to talk about, which is the future. Can you tell us a little bit about your ideas for Peter-Schmidt moving forward?
Yeah, at least I can give my glimpse of it.
Yeah. 'Cause the landscape's changing so much on a rapid,
absolutely.
I
mean, we talked
pace.
about it recently
Yeah.
because I mean, when you see now all the talks about like efficiency, we always have these talks with our clients, and also the speed on AI and so on. Of course, then at some point they also talk, instead of like in innovation and design, they talk more about efficiency, but we want to change that, of course, and bring value into design, into new tools, and say, hey, your value is the brand, and the tools are just an enabler, and let's talk about design, let's talk about like cool things, but definitely you have to be brave, in that sense. So don't hide. I think you need to be brave. We need to be brave. You need to shout that out into the world and say, hey, here we are. And also with a positive mindset, what I always try also with my team, bring fun into work. When you say, okay, everything is negative and cost and political situation, There's so many things, you need to be positive, And you need to keep good work. You need to have a good environment, this positive attitude. And of course, I think for us, which is really important, is growth in that sense of international footprint. We started that with our Lisbon office. I think that's really cool. It's working fantastic. We have so many cool colleagues over there. That's kind of a cool success story we have. But also, we're still part in the Asian market. We have a Japan office, which is great. Lately in contact with the New York guys and so on. So I think this is definitely a task and still something already in the making, I can't tell, but which is kind of cool. So definitely force this international growth idea, and also in the competitive set, don't compete like with local German agencies. It's more like, okay, see the broader picture. Where is the hot shit going? What do we have to do? Where do we need to push our boundaries? And therefore, it's, be positive, be brave, and international growth.
Thank you. Again, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I wanted you on this channel, because you also have a very important message, and that message is exactly what you're talking about right now. I think it's so important to have somebody like yourself with such a mindset as well, pushing this industry forward. I know you talked about the other countries, so where you're located, but today, you also stand representing also the German market as well. And, we talk a lot about this as well, that we can be quite frustrated with what's going on here, and we need to look much further out than the bubble that Germany sometimes creates for itself. And I think it's now our time, meaning, people like yourself are coming into, very, let's say, powerful positions where you can influence in a positive way, and spreading that message, it makes it much more desirable and much more accessible for new talents as well coming through and changing the landscape of branding here. So also commend you for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that just about wraps it up for this episode. It's been super quick, literally. It feels like we only just started. But yeah, thank you once again for coming and spending some time with us. And hopefully there's been some amazing insights there. If you haven't already, subscribe if you want. Like this video, it really helps us to continue to grow the channel. Share it with people who might be into Peter-Schmidt or into rocking out, because you'll be checking out some of Sven's stuff. Yeah, but we'd just like to say thank you, and we will, as always, see you in the next one.
Yep. Thanks, Sven.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Peace. What's your thought on the German design scene at the moment?
That's a good question, Paul. I've got no clue. The German design scene. On the one hand, you see all the students, all the universities. I think it's a diverse setup. You have like official ones. You have like all the private stuff, and a lot of new jobs and things are coming up. It was not like in the past when I studied, which was just communication design, graphic design. Nowadays you have everything, right? And the students come to your agency and they have a clue about touch designer or motion, but no clue about, I don't know, doing a classical packaging design or a brochure. So I think a lot of innovation is happening, which is kind of cool. On the other hand, you have a lot of different agencies, you have a lot of different awards going on. So I think it's a diverse setup. Yeah.